we are doing a brake upgrade. Converting to TBM, the Billy Badass of brakes.
The official brakes of 6 Week.
There you go. Yeah, the official brakes of 6 Week. The official brakes of the pre-party too.
Yeah.
So we might as well make sure that we got all the TBM goods on there. We can stop better, run faster. He actually said, because my car will go faster with these brakes, because he said there's less drag. So the drag coefficient actually goes down, rotating mass reduced by 10% on the whole car, right?
I don't know. Let's not get technical with exact numbers. But the concept behind these brakes is the way our calipers are designed, they're more rigid. So the pads actually return. As soon as you let off the brakes, the pads are gone. You know, when you put new brakes together for the first time, a lot of times they spin. You can do that with a O'Reilly's brain or whatever. But after you start using them a bunch of times, the calipers flex. They start binding the pistons and the bores. The pads start dragging, which is bad for ETs, reaction times, and just the life and the use of the actual caliper and rotor. So kind of our claim to fame is the no drag. So every time you let off the pedal, that wheel spins just as free as the first time you put it together. It also allows for stronger clamping force on the brake. So he had basically single piston calipers on the front of this car before. With our fronts, they're actually 2-piston calipers. So they're going to be a better braking option for him. It's going to be less drag and should be better ETs overall. So in addition, we just wanted to do the upgrade anyways. But I think it's going to be a great match for what this car is and what it does. We'll get some weight prepared for you.
Put it together or don't put it together?
Don't Loctite it.
Just don't Loctite it. I just want to, we'll get all of our spacing right and everything.
Oh, can these be shimmed? Is that?
Yeah, everything can be shimmed.
Well, somehow, from right before pulling in the trailer to right after pulling it out of the trailer, the module for the water pump went bad. I think had to have just been when draining it or filling it up, water got, because it was unplugged so it wouldn't run. Hoping it was just water somehow got in there, ruined the module. And got John from Delta Peg sending us 2 new ones. They'll be here tomorrow. But have a fan one on there right now just to get water to the entire system. And so that when we get the new module, just plug it in and it'll be good to go.
Quick chain brake. I'll look at it, but we might flip that rotor back around and then shim the caliper out, because you can't shim it that way. You can shim it that way.
Gotcha, because it's so close to the wheel.
Yep. To fit those 2 pistons in there, that's just like a tight setup. Figure out what half of that distance is and start there.
So the scallop design is so it'll spin perpendicularly, like what's that? Where it'll spin forever? What do you call that?
Yeah,
Perpetually?
Perpetuity? Yeah,
Perpetuity?
No.
What it does is there's actually a weight shift in there.
Yeah,
like it goes doot doot doot
Yep.
doot. So it's like the balls when you bounce
maybe.
them back and forth.
Don't give all our secrets away, Tom.
What the hell is that word?
Perpetuity. Perpetual, whatever.
Yeah. Perpetual
motion.
That doesn't sound as good. I mean, that's kind of like the Luigi valve that we got on here.
Rolls
like,
in perpetuity.
Yep, there you go.
If I ever make a valve for anything, I'm calling it the Luigi valve in your honor.
That's trademarked.
Yeah, is it? Yeah. Dang it. So one of the unique things about TBMs that a lot of people aren't aware of is our calipers are actually made from a forging process rather than a casting process. Just like internal engine parts, as you can imagine, forging's substantially stronger. better material to start with. So what we do is we have these blanks that are done, they're cast in the USA, and then we basically come back and machine everything, all of the profiles and piston bores. So the cool thing about what happens here is we have like a flat back, so we can actually curtail bore sizes to make exactly the brake we want. For instance, this is an F4. This would be used like both on monster trucks, so almost every Monster Jam monster truck on the planet, well, every Monster Jam monster truck on the planet has our brakes on it. Most monster trucks in general have our brakes, but then the F4 can also be used for sprint cars, so we might use a different bore size for one versus the other, and that'll allow us to have different pressures and pedal ratios and everything else in between. So it's kind of a unique thing about how we do things. Definitely one of the things that adds a little bit more cost, but it's definitely worth it to create a more rigid and better operating caliper. So I can't stress enough, don't Loctite stuff until you have all your spacing mocked up, because we've tried it a couple different times. If you want to get it perfect, you're going to be removing Loctite if you don't do it first. So we'll come back now and red Loctite it and then throw it all together. Yeah, you should come feel how tight this caliper is on this.
Why is that side tight too?
It's not as bad as the other one, but it also has had the line disconnected from it, so. We can put more washers on that if we need to.
Yeah, we should probably. Back are still carbon ceramic. I used to run carbon ceramic all the way around, but on the street driving it would just wear down the fronts a lot more aggressively. So I went to steel in the front and then carbons in the back, which I'm sure is a no-no, but it's been that way for like 4 years, and I mean, it's been, knock on wood, everything's served purpose. So now upgrading the calipers on the back to the TBM calipers. They actually use the same rotor as my Strange setup. They actually even use the same mounting holes, so it's really just a change of the caliper, a little bit different where the line comes into it, but other than that, fits in there the same. Good. On blue. Okay. I thought like I would have done the part of putting the calipers and everything on if somebody else would have done this part. This is always the part.
He acts like this is my first time doing this. All the hard work's done. Go ahead and bleed him, Tom.
Putting maybe a 2-pound residual valve right in that master cylinder, it's not enough to cause any brake drag, but it's enough to combat gravity flowing fluid right back into the reservoir and the calipers retracting so well.
We got residual valve.
Yeah, residual valve, like it's so it's 2 pounds. So basically, when you pressurize it, it's always going to hold 2 pounds that it won't let pass through it. So the idea is that it'll keep the brake calipers in the back tighter. It won't let as much stuff flow back into the master cylinder. So had deliveries down here. Dougie was kind enough to receive the stuff that couldn't come in time down there. This is one of the Sick Week shirts. They'll be available. There's also other designs that you're going to be able to get. This one turned out pretty sweet. This is Tyler Clark did that design. Also an updated version, limited quantities of these because it happened so late, but they did get us some, is the 2.0 shirts, but with the updated 2.0 design on it. So matches the wrap. That's 2 of the shirts that are available there that will be available only at Sick Week. So as well as there's some other stuff, other limited quantities. You guys have seen teases of it. So that's what we got for you. And now Ryan's here to save the day.
What's he doing?
He's putting in the Luigi valve, which is top secret, so we actually can't talk about it. Now he's putting in the 2 pound, what the heck do you even
2
call
pound
it?
residual valve. So
There
basically what happened is the way our calipers work, since the pads do return back to home, it pushes the fluid back, so then the pedal wasn't as good a feeling as Tom wanted, so to dial it in, we just put a residual valve in it so that the pads don't come all the way back. They're close, that way the first time you hit the pedal, it's right there. So.
And a lot of the reason is that the calipers are higher than the actual master cylinder, so when they spring back and it goes all back, there's just not enough fluid left in the line, so you'd have to pump it to get the fluid back up, and obviously you want to try and avoid having to pump the brakes when it's time to stop. So
So we're trying to dial it in so not only like the function of them is better, but the feel is just as good as you would expect or want for it to be, because you need both, right? Driver feedback and actual performance.
Yeah, might actually be a bonus. Being able to stop in a panic situation.
And it feels good doing it.
Double check our engineering.
Yeah. Because if I could flip that bulkhead around, I might get some room where it's going to be a lot less work and still accomplish the same thing.
Feels good. I think we finally got a pedal.
I think we're finally done with the brakes. So get the tires back on and pull outside, see if it stops.
Feel all right?
I didn't hear anything fall off. So at least 3 of them are still there.
A lot of confidence.
We'll throw those extra bolts in a fucking box. And
Yeah. If you figure out where those go, we can mail them to you. Cool. I feel all right though.
Oh yeah, no, it felt
Pedal
good.
and everything.
Yep, pedal stayed there tight, so all that seemed good.
I think it should stop a lot better with those front brakes versus the single piston stuff. So that's what Red always said.
No, it seemed like they grabbed good. And all right, Florida day 1. Our visit to TBM Brakes, it was only going to take like a few hours. Swap the brakes around, ended up turning an all-day affair. But at the end, it stops great on the little test run down the road. So, so that's awesome. Good. Aiden found out that his controller went bad somehow in his water pump. Whatever, he unplugged it and then plugged it back in when he got down here. So that's being overnighted here. So he doesn't have a drivable car until his water pump module gets here. And he didn't bring a spare water pump, which he has sitting at the shop. So now he's got Bob bringing that. Right, Aiden?
Yo.
So
Spare fuel pump too.
So there you go. So that is day 1 wrap. Spent the day here. I think I have a lot better brakes than I had before I got here. And I mean, let's face it, they look pretty badass too. So style and function. So thanks guys.